was remote. Couldn't ask, one you could ask the question. Right, yeah, same with mine. First, just listen. Well, I figured I better show up and okay, thank you, and appreciate everybody bearing with us while we get the technology to work. That's very important because all of these meetings are being videoed and will be posted online and will also be preserved for the governor and his team to consider the comments that are made at these meetings. My name is Kerry Harvey. I'm the Secretary of the Justice Cabinet. I'm a co-chair of the Governor's Medical Cannabis Committee. Ray Perry is the Secretary of the Public Protection Cabinet. He is the co-chair of the committee as well. Governor Beshear appointed a committee of 17 to consider this issue, and we're happy to have many of them present tonight. And they've been very dedicated to this task. This is our third meeting around the state, and we've had good attendance from our committee members at all of them. As I think all of you probably know, Governor Andy Beshear formed this committee to hear from you and to hear from people all around Kentucky concerning the important issue of medical cannabis. And so we are having these town hall meetings across the state. As I said, this is the third one, to give anybody that wants a chance to speak on this issue, no matter which side you're on or what opinion you hold, to speak, and the governor will hear your voice. We've also created a website so that anyone who is unable to participate directly in these meetings can comment by email. And we have at this point about 2,700 emails. So that tells us that there's a great deal of interest in this issue. We also have a number of people who are joining us virtually tonight, both members of the public and the members of our committee. So we're very happy that you're here tonight. We're going to hear from our speakers in just a few minutes. We want to go over a few simple ground rules about what this is about and what it's not about. It's about medical cannabis and the pros and the cons about that and your opinions about that. It is not about recreational marijuana use or the legalization of recreational marijuana. That's an issue that has its own pros and cons and its own opinions that people may hold about it, but that's not what we're concerned about tonight. It's also not a partisan political issue. In fact, the public polling indicates that medical cannabis has a lot of support from both parties. We know that there's a lot of support from both parties in the Kentucky General Assembly. This is not about partisan politics, and we want to ask you to not delve into partisan politics. You may have candidates that you support or candidates that you don't support because of this issue, but we're not talking about politics tonight. So we ask you to keep your comments to your views of medical cannabis as an issue and not about any particular personality. We have a good number of people who want to speak tonight. We're allocating 4 minutes for every speaker so that we want to hear your comments, but we also want to be respectful of your time, of the audience's time. And there's at the end of this, there's only going to be, of course, a certain amount of information that the governor's team can digest. So we ask you to keep your comments to 4 minutes. We're going to pretty strictly inform or enforce that time limit. So please don't take it as a sign of disrespect if you're told that the time is up. This young lady right in front here is going to give everybody a 30-second warning. So that will tell you that it's time to start wrapping it up. Now, I know that there's a lot of passionate feeling about this issue. And I also know there's a great deal of knowledge in this room about this issue. And I know that probably most of you can't say everything that you would like to be considered in 4 minutes. And I would commend you to the use of this website. You can reinforce the points you make live here tonight, and you can expand on those points by use of email. As I indicated, this meeting is going to be recorded. It'll be posted at medicalcannabis.ky.gov. So if you don't want your comments to be seen by a whole lot of people, bear that in mind, that these what we do here tonight will be recorded for the public to see, and also for the governor and his team and anyone else who is interested in the issue. So we're going to get started now, and I'm going to call the names of the people who have indicated that they would like to speak, and we have a good number of them. And I'm going to ask, if you would, this will help us keep this flowing, to line up as I call your name. Just line up by the microphone so we can take one after another. When it's your turn to speak, please start by telling us your name and the county that you live in. And again, you'll have 4 minutes. You'll get a 30-minute warning or 30-second warning. And we do ask you to respect the time limit. So as I call your name, please line up at the microphone. David Payne. Is Mr. Payne here? David Payne. Mr. Payne signed up just a little bit ago. Okay. Norman Burton. Meddy Conley. Meddy Conley.
She said she did.
Hmm.
She did.
Okay. Teresa Barton. Ma'am. Okay. Stuart Shunk. What I did. Okay. Natasha Lowry. Miss Lowry. Brandon Parrish. I mean, if you signed up, we would love to hear from you. It's your choice whether you speak or not, but we would love to hear from you. Glenn Kunkel. Elaine Nichols. Miss Nichols. Charles Mccrady. Robert Jensen. Mindy King. John Taylor. Zeta Grayson. Glenn Sullivan.
Yeah.
Martin Smith. Tom Eldon. And we have Representative Al Gentry with us tonight. Where is Representative Gentry? Glad to have you here, sir. Appreciate your attendance and your interest in. Would you like to address the group before we start?
Mr. Chair, it's not necessary, but I could talk for 4 hours on it.
Well,
Seriously, if there's time, I'll be glad to say a few words, but I would rather hear this.
okay, fair enough. Is there anybody? Yes, sir.
Frankfort, David Royce,
Um,
RYSE
okay, I had David Payne.
Royce.
Okay, well, just get in line. We'll be happy for you. You'll be first.
Okay.
Is there anybody that didn't sign up that wants to speak? Just, what's your name, sir?
David Royce.
No,
Dan Coletta.
okay.
Adam. Town.
Okay, would you mind taking your place in line? Okay. Let's go back. So, okay, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, again, 4 minutes. Ms. Womack here will help you know when there's 30 seconds left. If there's no one else. All right, we'll get started. Mr. Royce, the floor is yours.
Okay, my name's David Royce. I'm a 73-year-old Vietnam veteran. 53 years ago in 3 months, I smoked my first marijuana cigarette sitting on a bunker in Vietnam after watching little boy 13 years old get cut in half with a machine gun the first day I was there. And the lieutenants and the colonels and everybody passed out the marijuana to us. I smoked it every time I got a chance because it helped me with my trauma of the war. I don't think anything's wrong with medical marijuana. Like I said, I've been smoking off and on for the last 53 years, and it's helped me immensely. I had stomach cancer last April, and they put me on Dilaudid and all kinds of other drugs, and I quit doing them about 2 days after I was home. Started smoking marijuana, and for the last month and a half, year and a half almost, I've been smoking marijuana every day. And for 50 years, I ran a carpet installation company called Royce Flooring, and we installed the flooring in all the state offices in Frankfort and all around the state and state parks. And most of my crew smoked marijuana every night on the way home. But marijuana has never killed anyone unless a bale fell on them. That's possible to somebody that I don't know about. But I believe that the governor should go ahead and legalize it because in Amsterdam, Holland, where marijuana is legal, they've cut their death rate of drug addicts to 11 per million, while Kentucky's running 334 per million today. And we lost 2,250 people last year to drug overdose, and if they were smoking marijuana, we may have only lost a small percentage of that. And so it saves lives. And I urge every one of you to realize that it's past time to do the right thing and start treating our people who need it. And if medical marijuana helps people, the governor needs to pass it tomorrow. Declare a state of emergency and make it a law. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service to our country.
Hi, my name is Norman Burton. I published a website here,
Mr. Burton, would you mind telling us what county you live in?
Montgomery.
Thank you, sir.
I've made scientific discoveries that identify and eliminate the causation of the various individual mental imbalance disorders and social disorders that plague mankind. Now, it's pretty complex, and that's why I produced this website. nburton.com is the name of it. But it goes into psychedelics like marijuana, mushrooms, LSD, MDA. I think there's a new one now called keratin or pardon? I'm not sure what it is, but basically they've been making strides in eliminating mental imbalance disorders and the causation, but they're not sure why. And my website goes into that pretty extensively. But I can't say enough about the positivity of marijuana. And in the same vein, alcohol is derogatory to any sort of mental imbalance conditions. And that's basically all I've got to say. Most of my information is on the website, nburton.com. Thank you.
We appreciate your remark.
Hello, my name is Brandon Parrish. I'm from Shelby County. I have a few notes here. First, I'd like to thank all of you for allowing us to come today and to speak, to listen to some of us. A little nervous, so bear with me here.
I'm nervous too, so that's all right. We'll get through it together.
So again, my name is Brandon Parrish. I'm a single father. Again, like I said, from Shelby County. I'd like to dedicate this to 5 people. Matt Gaines, who was 27, passed away in 2019. Russell Bergen, who was 28, passed away in 2019. Taylor Murphy, who was 27, passed away in 2021. And Paige Llewellyn, who was 25 years old and passed away in 2020. All 4 from overdose, either whether it was heroin or whether it was pills, but access to that led them down a road that some of us could have been on, as well as to my grandfather, who is currently battling dementia. He has been prescribed opioids for a lot of his life, and it has led him into a stage that he is in now. And if he had access to a safe plant, even if it improves his quality of life, that would be a different route. I've seen how beneficial cannabis can be for those who battle anxiety, depression, PTSD, cancer, and other negative impacts that may happen to a person in their life. The plant itself has connected me to horse trainers, mailmen, maintenance men, nurses, industrial engineers, coaches, and even teachers. All walks of life have found the benefits of the cannabis, of what cannabis can provide for them, and it's time for those people to not feel like they are in the shadows and not feel like criminals. I've come today to show my support and to look forward to seeing Kentucky finally allow their citizens to have safe access to a natural medicine from a plant that God has given us. Nothing synthetic, nothing man-made. So again, thank all of you for allowing us to do this today, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir.
I'm a little nervous.
It's
My
okay.
name is Natasha and I'm from Powell County, Natasha Lowry, and I'm from Powell County, Eastern Kentucky. And I'm here in honor of my daughter, Grace Lee, who is no longer with us. And for myself, I'm a recovering addict. And safe access to marijuana would greatly benefit myself and my daughters and the family that I have. I take numerous medications daily. I still have seizures. Nothing stops it. I'm in a recovery program where drugs is prescribed, and it can interfere with my recovery. It can set me in a path that I don't want to go back down, a path we've been down too many times. And to illegally obtain it puts my children at being at risk. So we need safe access in Kentucky for the families, for mothers who have anxiety, who have PTSD. I'm very nervous.
Great.
I'm trying. Okay. We need safe access for those that choose not to take the medication route, because we know how highly addictive it's going to be, or we know how easily addictive it's going to be in our lives. So thank you for letting me talk and be here. I didn't have nothing planned, but I definitely wanted to come and support. And that's all.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Glenn Kunkel. I'm from Jefferson County, Kentucky. Took a nasty bump on the head in a place called Iraq about 17 years ago, so I'm gonna have to read from my phone if that's okay. I served in the Marine Corps Infantry for 10 years, 3 months and 8 days, and my service ended after the cumulative injuries that I had sustained throughout that time prohibited me from continuing my career. After several years of therapies and medications, there was no alleviation to the afflictions that had ended my service in the Marines. And it was after I'd exhausted pretty much all of those efforts that I finally tried cannabis, as I was raised to believe that that was for the devil, you know, it was bad stuff. So it wasn't an option until it had to be an option for me. It is obviously it's cheap, it's effective, and it affords me the ability to participate in a number of activities that I was not able to upon my discharge from the service. More of my friends have died since we returned from combat. My battalion was one of the heaviest hit in the Iraq War from overdoses and depression than I actually lost in combat. And I wonder daily how many of these deaths could have been prevented through the expansion of medical cannabis to all citizens, but most certainly veterans, as our injuries are more comprehensive and different than the average citizen. I'm here to ask the Commonwealth of Kentucky to stop treating marijuana patients like criminals. We are long past time to make meaningful progress so that we and all citizens of our Commonwealth are afforded that personal pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness from a plant that is less dangerous than many of the pepper plants I have in my garden. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
My name is Charles Mccrady, and I'm from Fayette County. 25 years ago, I was outpatient supervisor of radiology at the VA hospital at Cooper Drive in Lexington. During an MRI, I had a flashback of an event that had happened 25 years earlier in Vietnam. Our unit was attacked by a reinforced battalion of North Vietnamese. It was an all-night firefight, and the next morning, there were 37 bodies in our perimeter wire. My post that night was Oscar 17, a machine gun bunker in the foremost position of this action. After I had my MRI, I started seeing a psychiatrist at the VA hospital. 6 months later, I was medically retired on disability. Eventually, I was rated 100% service connected for post-traumatic stress disorder and other physical injuries that I incurred in Vietnam. I left my job Labor Day 1997 and did not leave my house for the next 5 years except to see my psychiatrist sometimes 3 times a week. I had a service dog for 13 years who helped me get back out into public speaking, and I do motivational speaking now, and I do storytelling. I've used marijuana almost every day of my life, like Mr. Royce, for the past 50 some years. It's the one drug that helps me. I've had 4 surgeries since I've returned from Vietnam. I've got bucket loads of oxycodone and hydrocodone, and I'd rather not use any of those. I'd prefer the cannabis. And I've had several of my buddies die from pancreatic cancer from Agent Orange. And I was with my buddies on the battlefield when they died in Vietnam. And I didn't leave their side then. And my buddies here in the stateside died with pancreatic cancer. I didn't leave their side. And when they used marijuana to get through their chemotherapy, when they were vomiting and were so sick they couldn't sit up, and to think that because of the way our laws are in this state, that these men were criminals. People talk about, so we support our veterans. One thing that you can do to support our veterans is allow the people to use this, just like these other 2 veterans have talked about, and not have these men die as criminals. I hope that I'll be able to someday say that I haven't broken the law for the last 50 years. Now, probably when my thing goes on the internet, my psychiatrist or one of my primary care doctors will say, hey, we need for you to come in and take a piss test because we can't have you smoking or using that marijuana. Okay. So I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate all the folks in the Kentucky House for passing the legislation last time. And I hope that everybody can realize I've been in the medical field. I've been in combat. I've seen people die with cancer. I've seen young children with epilepsy. I've seen veterans with PTSD. I've seen chronic pain. I've seen the whole thing. I've been with many people at the time of their death. And a lot of those people, fortunately, were able enough to have somebody that could get them access to medical cannabis. And I thank you all for being here, and I thank you for allowing me to speak. And because of my anxiety, I'm going to go on. Thank you all very much.
Yes, I'm up.
Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Jensen. Live in Jefferson County, pharmacist by training. Now working in the biotechnology space, in pain management in particular. And as a member of the American Society of Regional Anesthetics and Pain Medicine Cannabis in Pain Special Interest Group, I figured I'd bring some of their talking points in to present to you all and the governor as well. And having family that works in the medicinal cannabis space in the state of Pennsylvania, some are their concerns as well and some of the things that they've seen. And I want to make sure, I think everyone's talked about safe access. And there are some drug interactions that do happen. And I think that the state of Kentucky would be intelligent to include pharmacists and other healthcare practitioners in the dispensaries, should we go that route for medicinal cannabis, for the opportunity to review those kinds of interactions. I think obviously, like we said, safe access is going to be extremely important. There's not a whole lot of safety concerns. There's not been a lethal dose found at this point. But obviously when you're dealing with other drug interactions, we want to make sure that our patients are safe. So for the state of Kentucky and ensuring that safe access, I think it would be prudent for them to include healthcare practitioners in the dispensing of medicinal cannabis, should that be the way that we go. With that being said, I also think it's important to note that a lot of states have prescribers who will recommend medicinal cannabis, but then at that point, their care of that patient is then absolved. And all they do is see that patient once a year for their medicinal cannabis card. I think that does a disservice to the benefits that could be had, in particular when patients are going to the dispensary and taking their medical advice from bud tenders who are there to, I guess, sell product, because ultimately when these companies come in, they do want to upsell. So they're not necessarily taking the patient's needs into concern and more or less selling a higher percentage of THC product that may not be as beneficial. So ensuring that Kentucky really steps forward, and if we're going to do this, does this the appropriate way, I find to be extremely important. So I want to thank you all for your time and appreciate everyone coming and speaking today.
And let me just say, if you cited a group that you're involved with, if there are written materials that you think would be important to consider, if you'll get those to us, I would be sure they're included in the record.
Yeah, I'd love to. I've got plenty of written materials I can send.
I
So I didn't want
expected you
to
to.
bombard everybody with that. So
No, we'd be happy to receive anything like that.
wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm John Taylor and I'm from Jefferson County. I want to start by just thanking everybody again. I think this format is a great place for people to kind of voice their opinion and be heard, including the opposition, if there is any out there. We haven't heard them yet, but that's a different subject. I'm very much a proponent of medical marijuana for a number of reasons. Cannabis saved my life about 10 years ago when I discovered that CBD reduces seizures. I was seizing every 2 or 3 weeks. My worst period came on in 2007 with no warning. I was never diagnosed with epilepsy, but after the seizures kept getting progressively worse, the episodes, the intensity, the frequency, a couple of them were almost fatal. I basically took my health into my own hands, and I found a solution in Oregon in the form of a medical marijuana program that was growing low THC marijuana. I never knew there was such a thing, but CBD wasn't in the news back then. So I found a solution. I started taking that, and immediately upon taking it, I stopped having seizures. I went to seizure monitoring unit where they detoxed me off of dilantin, lamictal, and phenobarbital. And after 6 days of being on an EEG, a young intern came in and said, "Mr. Taylor, are you sure you've ever had a seizure? This is very unusual. You haven't had one yet." At that point, I ripped the things off my head and I said, "I'm ready to go." And I went asymptomatic for 5 years. The stuff works. I've had 6 events in 11 years. And the main reason why I've had those events is because, like a knucklehead, I stopped taking my CBD oil. I can't tell you why it works, but I can tell you that when I do take it, I don't have seizures. I'm one of the fortunate few because I have access to THC. I am a CBD processor. I run Commonwealth Extracts. I formed that company in 2014, and we've grown into one of the largest processors in the states of Kentucky. I'm one, again, the very fortunate ones. If I want THC, I just go to the back of the shop and I get some non-compliant oil and I make a tincture and I take it. Because I'm a licensee, that's called experimentation. My fellow veterans and the fellow people in the audience, they're criminals. And that is a criminal shame. The fact that we in this state have to wait. We are told we need more research. We're told that we just don't know enough about it. There's too much debate on should it be a drug? Is it a pharmacist? I don't know about drug interactions. I don't want to speak to that subject. What I do know is that I just came back from Michigan looking for equipment for a process that I'm looking for. And what I found was a well-regulated state that was competitive, was safe, and the only problem was that there was too much competition and the prices were low, which was good for patients. We're not talking about anything new here. 38 states have already done this. There should be really a chance to look at the other states, take the best of the best, get rid of the overregulation and what doesn't work, create safe access, mandate testing, and it shouldn't be a debatable issue. But again, I want to thank you all for your consideration. I'm not going to go on and let other people speak, but again, I'm here to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And I thank you all for all your time.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Glenn Sullivan. I live in Jefferson County. Thank you all for taking the time to take our comments. Want to commend the governor for forming the committee in the first place. I can't say any better, really, what's already been said. And John took a bunch of my talking points anyway. It's well past time. Like he said, there's 36+ states that have already been through this. I think the homework has been done. In most of these states that are reporting it, they're seeing less deaths from opioid prescriptions, less drunken driving deaths. And maybe that's related to recreational, maybe that's related to the medical. The statistics don't really speak to that. But you know, this stuff does work. I took myself, before I had shoulder replacement, I was taking CBD for the inflammation, and I was gratified and really surprised when it did work. You know, that's my tiny story. It's nothing compared to what others in this room have experienced. So I just say, let's get on with it. It's well past time. Kentucky lags in so many other things. I mean, we're late to this game as well. And, you know, it's a choice thing. You know, just because a thing is legal, like alcohol, you don't have to take alcohol just because it's legal. It's a choice thing. Allow people the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Like you said, everybody's took all the good points, right? Well, I guess it's time to do the work, right? I'm Martin Smith. I'm from Anderson County. I'm the president of the Kentucky Hemp Farmers Association, currently serving, and United States Navy. I'm here on behalf of my daughter, who is a suffering Crohn's patient who deals with it every day, and it brings me to tears that there's not much I can do about it, but allow her to take a risk and, you know, treat herself with cannabis because it's the only thing that works. So I'm not here on her behalf, and I'm here on the behalf of the fighting men of the United States Navy. And I can say that proudly because once you take that oath to serve, you serve it amongst all your brothers. And so my backstory is I started looking at cannabinoids, and their endocannabinoid system was looked at back in the 90s. And so in about 98, I got involved, just kind of, what does this thing do? And started looking at the science that they were discovering at the University of St. Louis and in Jerusalem. And it was a collaboration going on during the time. And I was dealing with PTSD at the time, with just stuff that had happened to me when I was overseas and coming home. And, you know, I started looking at all of these neurological studies that were going on and showing what these men were talking about when they said, you know, their opioid addiction is not as severe, the withdrawals than that. You know, we got 22 veterans a day that are committing suicide every day, that I believe that these cannabinoids has been spoken here already, can reach in a way that is God-given. I'm a pastor. I pastored for many years, and God spoke to me one time and he said, "Why are you demonizing what I said was good?" And that's when I started this journey, and we started importing CBD out of Europe before you could even grow it, trying to do the work so that we could get to the incarcerated veteran who was dealing. They weren't going nowhere. They're not running, you know, and they can be observed and see. And so we started working on the process of how that happens as a company, as we were importing, and while working with our state here in Kentucky to pass the law at that time was SB 50, and get it in such that when the law passed in 2014, we were going to be ready for that endeavor. And so legislation had to happen, good language that lined up to do that. And so my journey through all that has been working on procurement. How do I get to that veteran that's incarcerated, and work through my state and other state legislatures to break that barrier down for not only the incarcerated veteran, but for all veterans. So my proposal is I've been working on legislation for a long time. I've written a lot of it and proud of it. I got legislation and language in the Farm Bill and on cannabis, on hemp, and I think there's a way we can do this that's already established. And there's relationships between the doctor and the patient, right? Bona fide relationships. And they got a code of ethic, do no harm. And you got the pharmacist who has that same relationship, and they have the same ethics that can guarantee that the customer, that the patient is getting what he wants. Then you got the producer. Kentucky is by far the best place to grow this plant for many reasons we could talk about forever, but it is the best place to grow this plant. We are good with nutraceuticals. Look at nicotine. Although we don't want to think of it as a nutraceutical, when you take nicotine away from people who need it, who use it, they become people that, you know, they don't even recognize themselves. So nicotine, we're good at. We can produce that in 30 seconds. So, and we have a great regulatory agency in the hemp program. We already have a framework. What I'm proposing in this legislation that I've written is that we create a medical authorization form for our doctors who have an established bona fide relationship with their patients. In that, there'll be a place on there for a seal, just like a notary, that when that patient takes that to the pharmacist, he'll have another seal to put on there when he verifies that. So that will give you a chance to go out into the public and prove that you have an authorized medical cannabis. What happens from there is the producer, like me, I'm a cannabis producer. I produce some really good stuff. Pre-produce it under what would be medical condition. No pesticides, no microbiologies, none of those things. And that's what qualifies a producer to be able to produce that, governed by the same framework that I'm governed by in the hemp industry. So I'd like to put that out there in the air, just to say, I've got the language. If we can work together on it, I would love to see Kentucky do this the right way.
And we'd be happy to receive any written materials that you think should be considered.
All right, do I just email it to you?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
My name's Tom Hasselton. I'm from Jefferson County. And I sort of thank my blessings. I'm well, happy, but I have had 4 friends that had cancer, and 2 of them went into hospice, and they're gone. And they're good friends. One was actually a relative, and then another friend, he had a trach in his throat for 4 months. And he survived though. He's doing well. He got radiation therapy. He's doing well. And then I've got another friend that lives with it. It's like a slow growing cancer in the stomach lining. And they say he'll probably die of something else. But every one of these friends of mine, I'm up here to represent them and say, they all will tell you that it helped their end of life and it helped their life. And continues to help their life. So with that being said, one of the things I did look at the bill HB 136, and one of the things that it does not have is a provision for like caregivers who, you know, want to give care to people to grow their own and provide that. I think that's something lots of other states like Rhode Island, Montana, Arizona, Nevada, they put that in there. It's not a big deal, but it's something to consider. And the only point I'd leave you on is my sisters are like 78. They're older than me, 78 and 80. I had one sister, she died at 62 of alcoholism. And if she would have been a smoker, a pot, or, you know, she'd had that available to her, she'd still be here for me. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Sam Coletta. I'm from Kenton County. I have a business of pharmacy. I'm an independent pharmacist, and that's in Campbell County. And I'd like to echo maybe some of what already been said regarding pharmacist's role and maybe the dispensing or at least the profiling, following a patient through their medication use and use of a cannabis product. I don't know if pharmacy can dispense that because of federal laws, DEA licensing. That's a whole nother issue. But I encourage the committee to, or the state when it's developing this legislation, to put a pharmacist role in there. As I've watched what's gone in the past with other states, they seem not to have a pharmacy component to their legislation or to their distribution. So I'd encourage that. And another angle too, some states are charged excessive and fees for applications and licensing. State of Ohio is one. I'd encourage fees to maybe match more of what's going on out west to make this product as less expensive as it can be. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
And my name's Rick Howell. I'm here from Franklin County. A lot of people up here have already talked and told everything about everything just about, except our bodies already have the cannabinoids going through them. When you add the CBD oil and the THC, it helps activate the immune system into the body, and it works with the brain and the central nervous system. It helps affect everything that we have. At the age of 7, I was seizures. Grandma, I've had them tried to be removed up at the Mayo Clinic, and the surgeon said that he would not even try the surgery because I would lose my voice and I would lose my memory. Told him that was fine. I'm coming back. Came back home. As stepson got me on THC, CBD oil. If I miss a dose of medication, then I'm good. But when I'm not on it and I miss one pill, I have over a week of seizures, going 4 a day, and scaring my grandkids to death when I was there. So to have this legalized would be the best thing that Kentucky could do for everybody and all people behind me. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Dwight Taylor. In 2015, I became a non-law abiding citizen of Kentucky after 5 spine surgeries over a 10-year period. I found that I just couldn't get any relief from much of anything. And if you consider the pain level at some elevated rate over some length of time, it turns into torture. And that's what it does. And it robs your life, takes control of everything. And so in 2015, I went to Oklahoma, not Oklahoma, I misspoke, Oregon, and qualified for their medical marijuana program. That very day after seeing a doctor, I was able to purchase in their apothecaries under their medical program. I went back out to my car after I made my purchases and drove back to Kentucky. And that's pretty much been the story ever since. It helps me get out of bed in the morning. It helps me go to sleep at night. It gives me relief that I can't find in any other way. I've taken, gosh, lots of narcotics, and they'll take the pain. There's a place in the medicine cabinet for it. Fentanyl and all of it, there's a place in the medicine cabinet for it. Close to death, when you're ready to die, but it will take your appetite, and it takes your spirit, and you're existing. Pain's always going to be with us. It's the ongoing suffering. That's painful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. My name is Corey Boggs. I'm from Fayette County. I am Director of Operations and Compliance at Kentucky Heritage Hemp Company in Nelson County. We are a supplier of organic CBD, and we have taken the stance that we support medical marijuana reform, and that's in part because we've seen through the burdensome regulation imposed upon us in terms of the THC threshold, make producers like ourselves and patients like we've seen today criminals. And hemp and marijuana, we're talking about cannabis. And cannabis and its constituent phytocannabinoids have been shown both anecdotally and in a growing body of scientific literature to provide therapeutic benefits. And we have the infrastructure, it exists. We have a cannabis industry. And we would like to see with this marijuana legislation, some pathway for those, as we heard earlier, non-compliant oils to be introduced into the market and to allow cannabis, the cannabis industry in Kentucky to thrive and to allow safe access to the patients that we've heard today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. My name is Katrina. This is my son, Michael Lee, and I'm here to talk on his behalf. He's 20 years old, but unable to speak for himself clearly, though some of you may have seen him around the halls of the Capitol building advocating for himself and others like him with a smile on his face and a handshake for anyone that would accept one. That being said, Michael has been sick since the day he was born. He was born with a rare disease called gastroparesis. His stomach is basically paralyzed. It causes intense pain. It causes nausea. It causes a lack of appetite. Michael has a list of about 25 other diagnoses that I'm not even going to go into today because we don't have time, but you're welcome to ask questions if you'd like. But he, in Utah, was prescribed medical cannabis per his doctor, his GI doctor, because he had been on every medication that is available for gastroparesis. 2 of them he's allergic to, the others he failed. They didn't do anything for him. The only other options are narcotics, which are horrible for a paralyzed digestive tract, and IV anti-nausea meds, which eventually he will develop a resistance to, a tolerance to. Michael is now on TPN 18 hours a day. His GI tract does not work at all. He has to have enemas through a hole in his belly button. He has to have his bladder drained through a hole in his abdomen into his bladder. His body is failing him. At 10 years old, he begged me to die one night because he was in so much pain and we couldn't relieve it. Utah gave him the ability to utilize cannabis legally. His pain was relieved. He knew when he was hurting bad enough, he could come to me and ask me for his medicine and I would give it to him. It wasn't an everyday thing, but it was well enough that he knew when it was working that it helped. And so when we moved to Kentucky to be with family, we lost that ability. He has asked me multiple times to medicate him here. And all I can tell him is it's illegal. I can't do that. I've had people tell me, just go ahead and give it to him. Doctors don't need to know. Nobody needs to know. I'm sorry, he's a disabled human being. I am the parent and guardian of a vulnerable adult. And furthermore, I fully believe that doctors do need to know what he's on, both supplemental and what they prescribe. So no, that's not an answer for us. The other problem being, if they did take him from me, who's going to take care of him like I do? Who's going to know him like I do? Are the institutions in the state of Kentucky capable of dealing with autism and 25 different medical complications? He'll die. He will wither and die. I ask you guys to please do everything in your power to get this legalized for our people. The state of Kentucky is counting on you. People like Michael are counting on you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I didn't raise my hand.
Sure.
You're welcome.
My name's Doug. Call me Birdman. I'm on pain management. I'd hate to give my last name because I don't want him to throw recourse on me, but I have chronic pain. My profession was building roads and bridges and locks and dams like McAlpine and the Lincoln. Been through a battlefield in my career. Now I'm paying for it. Call me Birdman because I had a hawk, red-tailed hawk, come down and attack me on my motorcycle, 65 miles an hour, and hit me in the head. Talon marks down the side of my helmet. Thank God I was wearing a helmet that day. I wouldn't be here. But it jacked my neck up. I have to have another fusion in my neck. I don't want to do that. I get one pain pill every 8 hours, whether I need it or not. At best, it lasts 3 hours. I was down in Florida. I was using cannabis. Just a little bit out of a dropper. One pain med, 18 hours smooth. No ups and downs, no crashes. It was smooth. I was pain-free. I was able to be on my feet, get out and do stuff with my wife. It was wonderful. We need it here. We need it here. They got these things there. Sell them on the shelves, guys. Any grocery store, every corner you go on, you can get them. Kill you. I'm paying from them too. Dang, I wish I'd go to the corner store and get me something to relieve some of this pain. My neck and my back. Can't feel my right leg. Can't feel my left hand. My wife's a grandma epileptic. I went to jail for her. Possession of controlled substance, Schedule I drug. Wow. I didn't think that was as bad as heroin or meth or LSD, but Schedule I. Guys, I've done time for it, but you know what? My wife means so much to me. If I could take that seizure from her and give her a quality of life, I'll gladly do it again. But we don't need to be criminals to control our health issues, guys. We don't have to. I shouldn't have to be. I should be able to. I heard a lot of people say, oh, I like burning one down. You know, I like to roll me up a Scooby snack, roll me up a joint and smoke it down. Well, right on, guys. I'm glad you can. I'm not like that. That's more than let's go sit under the trees. Peace, dude. What's up, bro? You know, no, I like butter in my toast or putting a little bit of butter on the green beans or my baked potato or whatever it may be, and get my meds like that, not smoking it. I think taking a little bit of the Lord's medicine. He made the seed, right? Man didn't make seed. None of us made the seed. He made the seed. It grows up. It's been altered. Men's altered it, I'm sure. They're gonna be scared to go out there on the street to get any cannabis. You don't know if there's some of that fentanyl slapped on it, or, you know, I go out there and get me a sack. I'll be honest with you. I go to Illinois to get, I go see my sister for a few days and get some out of Illinois. I'm breaking the law again, but you know what? It keeps me pain free, guys. I shouldn't have to do that. I'd have the luxury. We're in America. I'd have the luxury to go down to my apothecary or my dispensary and get me my meds without having to worry about crossing the state line, picking some up, coming back and using it. Having to dodge pain management urine tests. It's just that wore out, and it's crazy. It's crazy. We need it. We need it. My wife's grandma's epileptic, had her doing marijuana 40 years. We've been married 40 years. The day I met her, I had to go in and do a report on what marijuana done to you, how bad it was. The judge said, go do a report with me. I need a report done, a 3-page report, how bad it is. Okay, I tell her, I said, hey, honey, I said, girl, you want to go to the library? I got to do a report. Report for what? I said, well, I got busted for some weed. Well, she done the report with me at the library. And I found out it was more beneficial than harm. I done give the report to the judge. Judge said, I can't believe you done that to me. Just dismissed my charge. I had to pay $100 fine or something. She's been seizure free for over 40 years from cannabis. 40 years, guys. Not one seizure. And it takes my pain for 18 hours. So let's get this passed, guys. Thank y'all. God bless y'all for doing this for us. Let's kick this in the hiney and get some relief first. Thank you, guys. God bless you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jennifer. I'm from Lexington. I want to first thank all of you for being here. So excited that this is finally happening in our state. Also want to thank everyone who's already spoke for your expertise and your frankly heartbreaking stories. I am not an expert. I am only adjacent to the industry because I work at a business that sells CBD products, largely locally sourced and for medical reason. I also use CBD and THC for personal reasons, pain, ADHD, anxiety, PTSD. There's a whole list, right? But that's not particularly what I want to talk about right now. I really want to talk about the economic implications of medical cannabis legalization. First of all, we can talk about the amount of people who are leaving the state to access this, right? A lot of our economy, a lot of our, economical power, the workforce is leaving the state. Parents, farmers, people are interested in working in the industry. So there's that. We can also talk about the fact that Kentucky has a 16.3% poverty rate, making us 4th in the country for poverty. And this, I believe, is one thing that can help us battle that. I have some statistics. A lot of these are correlated with recreational as well. So we're going to expand our umbrella a little bit, but we can understand that there's a large percentage of this information that's also coming from medical. So in 2021, nationwide cannabis sales increased 40%. This is something that's going up. More and more people are getting on board as the science grows, and there's more comfortability as actual facts are coming out about this rather than just anecdotal. The cannabis industry now supports 428,059 jobs in the country as of January 2022. This is something that can be provided to our people as well as the education and involvement in something that is so beneficial to people, and being able to feel like the work that you do is connected to something really important that's so good for people's health. Cannabis sales reached $25 billion in 2021, again, connected to recreational. We need to be in this pot. We need to have our hands in that cookie jar, right? States earned over $3.7 billion in tax revenue from recreational cannabis sales in 2021. I can't even imagine what the numbers are for medical, being that this is going to be kind of controlled by the state as well. The US cannabis industry is expected to reach $32 billion this year. Again, what are we waiting on, right? I personally think that this is an argument that can be really convicting for people who may not be totally in with how it actually helps people. That might not be something that speaks to them, but money more often than not does. So let's please bring this to the table. Again, I really appreciate you guys being here. That's all I have to say.
Great. Yes.
Thank you for allowing the input of everyone. I would make a suggestion as to all the speakers would be allowed to sit because a lot of them are disabled. My name is Tina Gay Riddle. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the Kentucky National Guard, and I support every one of these veterans that have already spoken. I'm not going to speak to any points that they have. I have a few points of my own. As a former diversity officer, which was the last position I held, we all know through research that the Nixon's war on drugs was racist. The war on drugs has failed. I'm 65 years old and I smoked weed when I was in high school, but I quit smoking weed to do my 32 years in the National Guard. Weed helps with anxiety. I want you to know that weed helps with anxiety, just like all these other folks said. Now, after being retired, I take care of 3 elderly people, and these 3 elderly people have a lot of pain. And I'm looking into their eyes, and because of this damn opioid thing that we're dealing with, they don't have any relief, no relief. And one day you're all going to be older too, and you're not going to have relief. And somebody's going to have to look in your eyes and tell you, I'm sorry, I'm doing all that I can. I have an uncle that has brain surgery in the hospital right now, and he's a veteran too. And I've done all that I can, and he is suffering greatly. So to continue this prohibition is against the people and only supports the black market, which is the current source. Oh, and who benefits from that? Criminal gangs and cartels. It's 2022. I support people who take this plant and its beneficial effects. I support older people who have chronic joint pain, be it in their extremities or their spine, to be able to seek pain relief so that they can continue to move because motion is lotion. I support veterans no matter because they've already been through it all. So get with the program and have laws modified just like they can modify taxes. Thank you.
Thank.
I would like to say one more thing. What we need to do is release all of our marijuana smokers from prison, save the state a lot of money, and let them go home.
Thank you. This was a very well-spoken group. We appreciate everyone that attended tonight, particularly those that spoke. That will greatly benefit, I know, the governor as he makes decisions going forward. I want to say just a couple of things. One is, and I think we need to have appropriate expectations about what this group can do and what we can't do. Ultimately, whether or not we have legal medical cannabis, as 38 other states do, in a full-blown regime to regulate and distribute it, will be a decision for the Kentucky General Assembly. The governor does not have the power to simply wave his hand and say the statutes that are on the books that criminalize marijuana in Kentucky are no longer the law. The executive power, however, is not insubstantial. And I think the governor wants to hear from all of you to inform his decisions about how he might use his executive power in relation to this issue. But I think it's important that we understand that executive power in this area is substantial, but it's also limited. The General Assembly will meet again in January, and I'm quite certain that this issue will be debated again, and the General Assembly will come to a decision, whatever it might be. So again, I think it's appropriate that we understand the limitations of what this group can do and what the governor can do. I also want to say that, you know, these meetings we're having are not a pep rally for any particular point of view. We have invited everybody in the Commonwealth to come speak on this, whether they're for it or against it or somewhere in between. I mean, the fact is that a certain point of view has been predominant in what we've heard, but that is not because this process was set up that way. We invite, and we will continue to invite, anybody that is for medical cannabis or opposed to medical cannabis to come forward and state their opinion. And so I want to be sure that everybody understands that. Representative Gentry, would you like to say a few words to the group?
First of all, I want to say thank you very much for each and every one of you for standing up and doing what you were doing. Couple of very brief things, and thanks for everybody here. Remember, your voice matters on everything, everything. Don't ever forget it. Every year I put a survey out to my constituency and I ask a variety of questions, and it's usually questions about things that we're considering changing or passing. So you might say they are somewhat contentious. I will tell you, this question about medical cannabis is always on my survey, and it has very consistently over the last 5 years drawn between 85 and 91% approval that they want medical cannabis. And I will tell you this, I do not have any question that I've ever asked on any of my surveys that draw 90% of one side. I tell my constituency all the time, I do everything I can to get them to be more engaged in the state government process, because it is my belief the intent of the Constitution was to put the power in the hands of the people. And there's no way you can exercise that if you don't engage in the process. So I wore my never quit hat today. Many of you know I've been one of the co-primary sponsors on this legislation since I've been in Frankfort in 2017, and I'll continue. I travel around the country and compete in disabled golf events. I have for 28 years when I lost my arm when I was 28 years old. So now I've lived as long with one arm than I have with two. And you've probably heard my stories in committee meetings. If you haven't, I'll give you the 20-second version. The most popular story I tell is in the 1990s. We stood on driving ranges on golf courses before we competed. A variety of disabilities, athletes that come from all over the country that play at a very, very high level, by the way. And we all had these little pill bottles in our bags. A lot of us that amputees, brachioplexus, different types of nerve problems, we're generally dealing with chronic pain in the tournaments that we play in. Golf is our rehab. Competition is our rehab. It carries on into everyday life. But I have phenomenal people that I compete with and play with, not just on a golf course, in life in general, because they have found a way to overcome their adversities and be very successful in life. But we were all given these pills that were opioids by the medical industry back in the 1990s. And I've seen many, many lives destroyed from overuse of this type of medication. In the early 2000s, I started seeing a bunch of, first of all, I'd say they would all disappear. not all disappeared, but some of them would disappear. Nobody knew what was going on. You'd hear stories later that were frightening. And some of them started coming back in 2000s and they had incredible stories, you know, and were doing well, working again, doing whatever they were doing. But they had found medical cannabis programs in the states that they resided in. So I knew it worked. I knew there was something there. And when I came to the legislature and asked to work on the issue, I knew I had to. But I've talked to Governor Beshear personally about this. I know he wants to do something about it. As Mr. Harvey said, he's very limited. It's up to us in a lot of ways. It's up to you in a lot of ways. And I would love to do that. But and I don't want to take up any more time. I know it's getting late, but thanks again for everything everybody's doing. And I could tell all kinds of different stories that don't have to do with disabled golf. With unbelievable how many people came out of the woodwork after they knew I was working on legislation and told me their story. A lot of people I knew had no idea they were using this product illegally. And they all had different stories, and they all had different stories of success. It works for most of the people that use it. And I will say this too, on the golf circuit, the most common use of this product is cream for inflammation purposes. And, you know, we're all kind of off balance and we have different inflammation issues. And that is the most readily used right now of hybrids, THC, CBD oils. So just to let you know that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Do want to say before we adjourn that we've had a couple of our Kentucky State troopers with us tonight. The Kentucky State Police is is the premier law enforcement agency in the country. We appreciate you guys not only for being here tonight, but for what you do for us every day. So thank you, and we appreciate you. Our goal is to adjourn by 7 o'clock, so we're doing good on that. Again, appreciate all the comments. I want to give our committee members a chance if you'd like to speak, but please, let's keep it to less than a minute because you can tell folks are ready to go home. So we'll start down here.
Hello, my name is Dr. Amber Can. I am a pharmacist, and I just wanted to say to the two pharmacists who spoke that, yes, I am here advocating for pharmacists. And I do think it's important that pharmacists be a part of the process, drug interactions included, but also we are a part of the healthcare team. And I not only advocate for patients on this advisory council, but also for pharmacists. And I want you to know that your voice is heard here on this council.
I just want to say thank you all for coming and thank you all for speaking. And I think it's obvious to me that we really need this here. And the patients, the people living with these illnesses are the real experts here. So just want to say that and thank you all for coming.
I'm Dr. excuse me, I'm Dr. Linda McLean. Thank you for coming. You brought up some great points. Some things that we haven't heard in other meetings. So thank you, and we'll make sure the governor hears this.
My name is John Farmer. I've practiced in this state for 42 years. And I always, the veterans really strike me. Statistics say 85 to 90% of veterans who serve in an active war zone will develop PTSD. And to me, that's one of the biggest reasons to pass this.
Thank you, Doctor.
And I don't know if everybody heard, because when the veterans spoke and they were clapping, Secretary Harvey did thank every one of them. And I do want to thank all of our veterans. And I do want to also, I think the young lady that was recovering isn't, I don't know if she's here, but she will continue to do good. I have no doubt about it. And she'll live a very healthy, happy life. I'm sure of that. So the stories you're telling, I really don't know what the debate is at this point, but we're going to do our best to advise the governor to get this done. Again, he has limited executive power, and like the representative just said, it's a large part of what you do, what you tell your representatives. Polls all across the states show 80, 90%. If 80 or 90% want it, 80 or 90% can get it if they just speak up and demand it. And so that's what we're trying to push here and get done. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much. My name is Dwight Taylor. I'm the CEO of 502 Hemp Wellness Center, and I can assure you that I have heard all of these stories for the past, 6 years. I've been doing this with my husband, who is a veteran and has seizures. November's right around the corner, y'all. That's the only way that anything is going to change. And we all have to work together. And if you guys want to have medical here, you have to vote for people that want it as well. And that is so important for all of us to remember. This is about our patients. It's about the veterans. It's about everyone that is suffering and taking opioids that are not, they're just hurting people. And it breaks my heart every day. I lost a niece to heroin. I've watched my husband have seizures, and I've watched my father-in-law wither away to nothing on opiates. Proud to be up here today, and I'm proud to hear your stories, and I appreciate you guys so much for coming out. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kristen Wilcox with Kentucky Moms for Medical Cannabis. I'm also very proud to be here. I started this fight for my daughter Shelby, who has a severe form of medication-resistant epilepsy. And she's just a couple miles away in the hotel room. I'm very, very proud of her. I just want to say thank you to all the veterans who spoke up today. Thank you all for your service. Thank you for coming to speak out and tell your stories. And to all the parents who are fighting for their children, the cancer patients, those in recovery, my heart is with you all. I will do everything in my power. We'll fight here on this board. We'll talk to the governor, but we're also coming to Frankfort for all of these legislators who keep saying no year after year. We're coming for them. I want to say a special thank you to Representative Al Gentry, who has been a champion supporter for us year after year. We greatly appreciate all you've done for all of us. And I just want to remind everybody to call your legislators, 1-800-372-7181. You can reach them year round, leave a message, and let them know that if they're not supporting you, you're not going to support them anymore. Thank y'all. One 1-800-372-7181. 7181. That'll get you to the LRC hotline. Very nice people over there answer the phone. They'll help you find out who your state representative and who your state senator is. And you can leave a message with them every day of the week. Thank you.
My name is Brian Jointer, and I'm the local program manager for an organization in Louisville. And today was very, very, very eye-opening. And I enjoyed listening to everything everyone had to say. And I want to, thank the veterans for your service. But the people that are suffering from the illnesses and I can't call it a lack of compassion, but when you deny someone medical treatment, what's the difference? What's the difference? And I appreciate everything that was said here tonight, and we'll take it home and pray about it and keep pushing for this agenda because it's very much needed. I mean, I see people in my city walking untreated with mental health issues every day. And I know that there's something about this plant that would help change that. I see people, stricken with alcoholism, suffering with, different problems every day. And I know there's something about this plant that would change that. Kristen's story really breaks me down when I think about, a child suffering at the hands of not having what she needs to be better, so why not let us be 39 and let's get in line and do what's right. I'm going to continue to fight for it. And I thank each and every one of you for showing up tonight.
My name's Jonathan Hatton. I'm a physician. The data shows that it's a safe and effective tool for a lot of these chronic conditions we've heard about tonight. And I can tell you from experience, these are very difficult conditions to treat. And it seems a shame to have a safe and effective tool out there that we're not utilizing to alleviate this suffering.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I know it's difficult to come and share personal stories in a room of complete strangers, so thank you for doing that. I will echo what the secretaries have said. I know the governor is committed to working on this problem, but his power is limited and the power is in your hands. And if you don't know who your state senator is, or who your state rep is, I urge you to call that number or to go to the Legislative Research Commission's website. You can type in your address and it will tell you who your elected officials are. You can also look at the voting history and you can find out what bills they voted for and what bills they have voted against. And I urge you to do that research so you can make an informed choice when you go to the ballot box in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We really appreciate your stories and your time and your attention. We'll all stick around. If anybody wants to talk, feel free to come down and talk to us. But thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you for your attendance and your attention, and your remarks will be adjourned.